Today we're going to be learning how to use our calculator to answer questions about a specific situation. So number one, Texas Instruments has found that the revenue produced by selling TI-83 graphing calculators is a function of the price, P, dollars per unit, according to this equation. So the first thing we're going to do is graph this. In order to graph it, I'm going to start off by labeling my axes. So my x-axis in this case is represented by the P, which is price measured in dollars per unit. So I'm just going to put dollars. My Y, which is the R, stands for revenue, which is how much money I'm making total. And that's also measured in dollars. So make sure every time you graph, you're labeling both your X and the Y axis as well as the units. So they're both dollars in this case. Okay, so this is now when we're going to take out our calculator. Before we start, let's clear the memory just in case anything is wrong with your calculator. So we're going to go to second plus 712. Just clear off the whole memory. Start fresh. And now we're going to go to y equals and type in this equation. So every time we see a p, instead of p we're going to type in x. So negative 150x squared plus 21000x. So again, make sure this looks exactly like this, because the number one cause of problems is you forget an x or you forget a number, and then your entire equation will be wrong. So our first step is going to be graphing this. In order to graph this, we're going to have to adjust our window. So let's start off by going to window, which is the second button next to the y equals. Unlike the previous problems that we've been doing, this is not going to start at a negative number, because if you think about price, dollars per unit, however much your graphing calculator sells for is never going to be a negative number. No one's going to sell something for a negative amount of money, so we're going to start at 0. Instead of starting at a negative, we're going to start at 0, because we know that no one's going to sell something for negative $10 or negative $20. It just doesn't make sense. In the same way, our y value, we also want to start at 0. So we're going to go 0 to 10, 0 to 10. Because our revenue is not going to be negative either. We only want to look at the positive numbers. So we're going to start off 0 to 10, 0 to 10. Let's press graph and see if we can see our function. So clearly, we see a little bit of a line over there, but there's really nothing here. Our window isn't big enough. So let's go back to window. Every time we increase, what we're going to do is add a 0 to each of these. So we started off at 10, now we're going to make that 100. Same thing with our y's. Started off at 10, we're going to make this 100. So now we're going from 0 to 100 on both my x and my y. Now press graph, let's see if we can see it now. So it's graphing, and I'm still not seeing anything showing up on my window, so that means I need to make it even bigger. Let's go back to window. Again, every single time you're adding another 0. So now it's 1,000 for my x max and 1,000 for my y max. And again, press graph. And this time we do see something. So on my x-axis, I'm seeing the end of my, this is a quadratic, so it's going to be a parabola. So I see the end of my parabola on my x-axis. So I don't need to go any bigger on my x-axis. I do need to increase my y's because I still don't see the maximum here. So now I'm leaving my x-axis alone. I'm going to only increase my y. So go to window again. This time we're making y max 10,000. So add another 0. Again, we're not changing our x this time because our x is big enough. Go back to graph. We still can't see the maximum of our function. So go back to window again. We're going to increase our y max by another 0. Graph it. Still can't see it, so we're going to keep on increasing, go back to window. So each time we're just adding 1 0 to the end of your graph, or end of the number. So now we have 6 zeros, press graph again. Finally, we can now see the end of our graph. So this is how we're going to try to refine our window to make it so that it fits better, because right now this is still very, very small. We want to make it so that it fills up the entire screen. So let's start off by looking at our x-axis. Right now this is going from 0 to 1,000, I believe. Yep, 0 to 1,000. And so we can actually probably decrease it by even more than 1/2. This would be like 5 500. Maybe we could make it like 300. Go to window, 300. Let's see what happens. See, now this fits much better. I can see almost my entire graph is taking up the whole window, which is what we want. We can maybe make this even smaller if we wanted to. Let's say instead of 300, we'll do 250. So it's really up to you exactly what numbers you want to use. You just want it to fill as much of the screen as possible. Okay, so now let's go to our window and change our scales. So if we're going from 0 to 250, instead of going up by ones, let's have this go up by 50 so we can see this better. And this is 1 million, so instead of going up by 1, let's go up by 200,000. And now we can graph it, and this is going to be much easier for us to label. So I know my x's are going up by 50, 50, 100, all the way up to 250. And so I know that it's going to end right here between 100 and 150. Whereas over here, this is going up by 200,000. 4, 6, 8, 10. This is a million. Alright, and then my maximum point is here somewhere in between. It's almost at the 8, but somewhere between the 6 and the 8. So now I have a very accurate drawing of this function by using my window. Now we're going to use what we learned last week to label some important points. So we have 2 important points that we need to find. This one up here, so the name of this point is a max. And this one down here, the name of this point is a 0. So we're going to be finding these 2 points using our calculator. So we're going to be using second trace. So first, let's find our maximum. So we're going to go down to number 4. Just like what we did last week, we're going to do left bound, right bound. So left bound, we want to go on the left side of your maximum. Press enter. Right bound, you want to go on the right side of the maximum. Press enter. Guess, just press enter again. You want it to say maximum, and once we have this, we can label our maximum. This is a point, so we're going to write down both the x and the y. 69.9999 can round up to 70, and our y value is 735,000. So that's our maximum point. Again, be careful, it should say the word maximum for it to be your final answer, otherwise you probably haven't pressed enter enough. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for 0. So second trace, now we're going to go down to number 2 for 0. Our 0 is this point right here where it hits the x-axis. So let's start at, right on the x-axis is right here. Left side of it should be slightly above, so enter. On the right side now, we want to go all the way off of our graph so we don't even see the cursor anymore, because if you're on the right side, you should be underneath the x-axis. You should still have those 2 lines there. Press enter until it says 0. And this is our point. It is 140, 0. Now that we have these 2 points, we can actually answer a ton of questions just using this information alone. Let's start off with our domain. Unlike before, it is not negative infinity to infinity because we're only looking at certain situations. We can't have a price that's negative. So because of that, we're only looking at this part of our graph. So our domain starts at 0. It includes 0, so it's a bracket. And then the largest x value now is going to be over here, which is at our 0. So our x max is 140. So it goes from 0 to 140, looking at these important points. This is what your domain is. Our range, now we're looking at our y values. The smallest one is again 0, again bracket. Our highest is going to be at the maximum point, and again we're looking at our y-axis, so it's going to be the y value of our maximum, which is 735,000. So that's my domain and my range. Let's look at A. What should TI charge for each calculator in order to maximize the revenue? So we're looking for the maximum. and they're asking you what should we be charging for each calculator. So is that our x or our y? Charging for each calculator is the price of each calculator, so they're asking us for our x value. And so the x value of our maximum is $70. You must have a unit in order to get full credit, so be careful. It's 70, and then the unit for price is dollars. Okay, so what is the maximum revenue? Our revenue is now y, so now we're looking for the y value of our max, which is 735,000. Again, units, this is in dollars. Let's look at C. What would the revenue be if they decided to charge $100? So $100 is the charge, so this is our price. So x is equal to 100. We're looking for the revenue, which is y. So this is another button we have in our calculator where if they give you your x and you're looking for your y, we can go to second calc and use value. So press value. It should now say x equals. We can type in our x, which is 100, and it'll give you our y, which is 600,000. So our y equals $600,000. Again, units. Finally, it's asking us what other price will yield the same revenue. So we're looking for what other price will give us the same revenue that we just got. So if y is 600,000, what is our other x value? So this is finally showing us the last button that we should have in our calculator. We're going to be using intersect. And if we know our y, we're going to be putting y in our y equals under y2. So whenever they give you your y and you're looking for your x, we're going to have to go back into our y equals, type in y2, which is 600,000, and then press graph. You should see two lines now, and we're looking for the intersection point, so second calc intersect, which is number 5. So for this one, it's not left and right, you just have to get as close as possible to the point. So we should have two different answers. One of them we already know is going to be 100, because part C we know one of our x's is 100. We're looking for the other one. So let's go as close as possible to this intersection point, press enter until it says intersection. And over here it gives us intersection, x is equal to 40, y is equal to 600,000. So 40 is our x value. If we did it again for this intersection point, we would get 100. We know that's another one of our x's. So this is the one we're looking for.